Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am thrilled to be here for Spellbinders and to showcase their Glimmer Hot Foil System. So in the package, when you get yours, you're going to see the spacer pad. You're going to have a thin shim. That's going to be part of this. You're also going to get two glimmer dies. One is like an outline, like a frame flourish, and the center sentiment that says best wishes. You're going to get two rolls of their foil, the glimmer foil. You're going to get an awesome set of tweezers that you will need to get the die off of the hot pad, and it's got a magnet in it. You get a silicone mat, and then of course you get the system itself. So your plug is in the back, you're on an off switch, and of course the plate does remove from this system and it will work in a die machine. Of course I have the Spellbinders Platinum 6, but it will work in any die cutting machine that runs steel rule dies. So they're those thick platform dies. You can see it has its connectors, and you can see it's not that big. I mean, with my 3 fingers, this is really nice, compact. On the back of this system is where you can store the cord, so it's very, it's great to put away. It doesn't take too much room. These are the 2 glimmer sets that I have that we're going to play with. One says joy, and the other one says ho, ho, ho. So let's get started and let's work with this machine. Now for further details, please, I'm going to link to a video below where I actually played around with the machine for the first time. So you can see after you plug it in and turn it on, the top power light will turn on. And then after a few moments, I'm going to say a couple minutes, the system's heating up. Once it's heated up, the second light will lit. And that's telling you that it is ready to take a die, one of the glimmer dies, and put it on top of this mat. Now, when it comes to this mat, you can see I'm moving this die around while it's on there. You don't want to touch the mat. Now, once you place your die, you want to hit the button and you're going to see the timer light flashing. When that goes solid, we are ready to start the process of foiling. So you can see the light is solid, so all 3 are solid now. We're going to grab a piece of foil. Now my suggestion is, when it comes to the foil, it is the glimmer foil that you need to use. You want to make sure that you cut the piece of foil close to the size of the die. You don't want to go too much bigger, and you want to make sure the shiny side is down. Now, you know, in other past applications, we always say the fancy side up. We are reversing that. You put your cardstock down then, or any medium you're using. I use both shims, both the thin and the spacer pad, and I'm going to pull this out. It's very easy to disconnect from its base, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine. Once I ran it through, I'm going to slowly lift off each of the plates, and you can see the cardstock kind of sticks to the thin shim, and that's okay. I'm going to grab my cardstock. There's not a lot of heat there, so you will not burn yourself. I'm going to use my tweezers to get my, aren't they great? Yes, magnetize. It's awesome! To remove it from the hot plate. I'm going to carefully peel back my foil, and we have a beautiful image. Now, it may not be centered, but that's what you can use the grid for. If you know where you've placed your image, you can figure out where you're going to put your cardstock. And it does work. I forgot to do that this time. But it does make it easy to center your pieces right onto your cardstock. Unless you're fussy cutting them out, then it doesn't matter. Once I put the plate back in, it starts reheating the plate. Again, once that second light below the power turns on, it's ready to have the die placed on it. Now, know this is hot. There is heat to this. Can you accidentally touch the top of that heating plate? Yes. You're not going to severely blister. But you don't want to keep your hand there either. So again, there is heat there. Once that die is warmed up, after I hit the timer, I'm going to choose my foil. Now this time they also offer individual foils that you can purchase. And they come in many colors, many beautiful colors. Of course I went with black because I'm a little different. Yes. So this piece of foil, I did cut it a little bit too big. It's okay, but you'll see what I mean. So again, the color foil side down onto the die, then your piece of cardstock, and then I'm going to place the thin shim, and then I'm going to place my spacer pad. I'm going to pull this out, and if you notice where my hands are at the base where the handle is of the plate. You do, when you're pulling, keep your hands there. You don't want to go to the side. There is some heat there, and I don't want you to burn yourselves. I'm going to slowly remove my plates. Again, cardstock usually sticks on this one. That's not a problem. I take that off. There's not a lot of heat there. It's warm, but not a lot of heat. I love the magnet in the tweezers. It just picks them up, and I can just set that down onto my silicone mat so the die can cool off. I'm going to gently peel back my foil, and I have a beautiful image. Now you can see with the piece being cut a little bit too big, I get those corners. So that's what you want to watch out for. As long as you cut your piece close to the die, you're not going to have those areas. So we've made 2 panels. Let's make a couple cards. I'm going to shut down my system. So I'm going to keep the pad disconnected, and I'm just going to flick my switch, and the power goes off, and you'll know that because the light will go out. And then you just want to set that aside so that it can cool. It does take some time for it to cool. Probably about, I would say about 5 minutes for it to fully cool down. Okay, so let's make some cards. So I'm going to cut down this panel where I used the silver foil and the joy die. And I think I have a perfect square there. So I'm just going to place that on top of my silver mirror cardstock, just so I know where I can cut, so I don't have to measure. That's why I do that. Sometimes, you know, figuring out measurements is sometimes difficult. Let's call it that. So just by placing that piece on top of that piece of cardstock, I was able just to trim it down. I'm going to do the same thing with the dark blue. And I'm going to set my panel up on that, and then I know where I can cut so that it's an even edge. You could just use a very long pair of scissors, and you would get a straight edge as well. I'm going to use my Nuvo liquid adhesive to adhere this panel down onto the panel that I've just cut. So now I have the blue, the silver, and then the blue again, and I think it creates a beautiful accent. So if you are someone that loves the foil look, that's what you use a lot, this machine is perfect for you. It is so easy to use. And it doesn't take long once you get the hang of it. There is a learning curve just with anything, but it does give some beautiful, absolutely beautiful results. So once my panel is up on my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, mine are top folding. You can see I have a little bit of the blue, light blue at the top and the bottom. I did want this panel to go from side to side. I grabbed a piece of silver ribbon from my stash, created a bow, and just put it below the ornament in Joy. For our next card, this glimmer die set actually came with a template, an outside die. So it's actually going to cut the item that we foiled out onto the cardstock, which is why I wasn't too worried about the top 2 corners on this panel. You can see the image in the upper right hand corner, and it does a beautiful job. I absolutely love the ho ho ho. From my stash again, I grabbed some gold ribbon. Yeah, ribbon. Sorry about that. And I'm going to wrap this around. I'm going to create 2 diagonal lines with the gold ribbon going around each side of this cardstock. My image was foiled on red, and the base that the image is going to sit on is red. And I like that look. You know, it all depends. But for this one, I actually did like it because I used black foil. It's a different look. It's kind of what I call edgy in a way. So I created those diagonal lines just to break up the focal image. I'm going to adhere this down to a piece of gold mirror cardstock, and I'm going to glue this directly down on my standard A2 size card base top folding as well. And there's only a slight sliver of that dark green coming in around the gold mirror and the red. I'm going to use some double-sided foam squares to prop up the sentiment or my focal point, and I'm going to set that right over the gold ribbon that I have there. And it's just going to accent it just a little bit. So this is kind of a different looking holiday card. So once that's set in place, I'm going to grab some baker's twine from my stash in white and black, just to have that little bit of white coming through. Will kind of make other items pop onto the card. And I'm just going to trim it a little bit. I'm going to use one of my micro dots because I want to adhere that right to the top and have the tail of the bow come down over the ho ho ho. So I thought this was missing just something a little bit more. So I grabbed my gold Nouveau drops, and I'm just going to place a dot in the middle of the O's. And I like the fact that it's 3 different fonts when it comes to that ho ho ho. So very simple cards and very quick. It is a wonderful system. Again, if you like the foil look and if you like having those foil accents, again, this will work in any die cutting machine as long as it accepts steel ruled dies. I did use mine in a Platinum 6 and I absolutely loved it. Know that yes, this is the foil that you do have to use, the Glimmer. Other foils will not work in this system. They will not adhere. So you wouldn't be able to use other foils by other makers or companies. So that's just a side note. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. But most important, make sure you go to my blog because there is a wonderful giveaway that Spellbinders is doing, and all the details will be on my blog post that you can go to right after you watch this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave those down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And all the products that I used will be listed down below in the video description if you want to check them out in further detail, even the dies that I used as well. I hope everyone's having a great day. But remember what's most important, always be creative.